What do you say, everybody? Welcome to Elephant in the Room, part of Disrupt the Media. Roll Tide Pods. Like and subscribe. Give us a thumbs up and do it because you love Alabama. And with Jay Coker, I'm Mick Gillispie, and we got a lot to talk about. This was a huge weekend recruiting-wise, and we're going to lead with basketball.
I was about to say, which sport?
Oh, man. I mean, Clifford Omoruyi coming to Tuscaloosa, transferring into Alabama from Rutgers, but turning down a reported $2 million not to go to UNC, not going to Kansas State, not going to Georgetown, but coming to Alabama to play basketball. And when I think of the arena and I think of all the negatives, that's one thing. But on the other side, when I see Nate Oates and what he's doing right now, these players are coming and they're turning down the Blue Bloods to play for Alabama. What a great get for him. The big man you wanted.
Man, Nate Oates Greg Byrne at some point's got to be looking around like, man, we may have outkicked our coverage here. You know, I don't know if we can sustain this guy. He's too good. You know, like all of a sudden, you know, you got all these 5-star recruits, transfers coming in, and you almost wonder if you have the capability of maintaining that kind of talent. It's every time you turn around, there's a new guy that's coming in. It's exactly what we needed, exactly what we were looking for. That's the piece of the puzzle that may have been the most important. A big shot led the nation in shot blocking. We had to have somebody that could defend down low. And, man, we finally got one. And how did you say his last name?
Amari. Yeah.
Clifford Omoruyi. Nate Oates is just he has the style on the court, and he also, you know, he doesn't come off as a guy that he was hilarious in your interview. You know, I feel like when you talk to him one-on-one, you kind of get that vibe. But when you watch him on TV and
we're tight now.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I'm starting to get that mullet he was talking about.
Let's do it for next year. You know what, dude? You are letting it go. Like me, you're gonna have this. You know, it's like the summer hair, right?
Yeah, I'm working out with David Morris, and he's like, all right, I'm not cutting mine until you cut yours. And so I was like, all right, I might. And now it's become kind of a little competition between me and him. But I don't know if I can keep this going too much longer.
Why not?
It's getting a little out of hand.
Oh, come on. You haven't even gotten started yet.
Yeah. This is usually as far as I go. When it starts curling behind the hat, that's when it's time to get rid of it.
No, when it starts curling behind the hat, that's when you got it cooking, man. Look at that right there. When you got it, when it gets to about shoulder length, then I'm like, okay, yeah, we got to cut it right now.
Yeah.
So can you believe it though, man, that how this basketball program is just taken off like this, and you lose all these guys in the transfer portal, which was such a surprise to me, especially the main one to me was Rylan Griffin going to Kansas. But, you know, Nick Pringle, you probably figured he was going to go. He couldn't stay out of the doghouse, but he's a good player. And then he went to South Carolina. You know, Sam Walter transferring, you know, it was like all of a sudden all these guys are transferring out of the Final Four team. And then Nate Oates goes out and it's like retooling with better players.
Well, it makes you wonder. Because it's all starting to make sense now, you know, makes you wonder if Nate Oates had a conversation with them just about the incoming class and what to expect in terms of the talent that he'd be bringing in. And, seems like they knew something before everybody else, you know. I feel like basketball is going to turn into one of those. It's going to be a one-year decision each year, and you're going to see a lot of shifting within the college basketball world. But I would imagine what we'll probably have Mark Sears and Grant Nelson returning and being starters next year, and then from then on, it's going to be a completely retooled team.
Yeah, no doubt. That's going to be fun to watch next year. And it also goes to show, you know, how this program has become elite, you know, in this day and age. Not over the course of time, but right now. I mean, I think Alabama, when Mark Sears officially comes back, I know he's still hopeful to go to the NBA. I don't think it's going to happen. I think he's going to come back, and I think when that happens, this team could be number one in the country.
You know, this team is going to be. There's going to be more hype around this team than the team from 2022. You know, again, that team was the favorite to win the national championship that year. The off the court issues, I feel like, kind of ruined that year and the momentum we had going into the tournament. But you know, God forbid anything happening off the court. You know, we've got as much or more talent than we had that year, even with Brandon Miller. So you got to feel like going into this year after a Final Four appearance, anything less than that. I'm not going to say it's a disappointment because Alabama, I mean, obviously we haven't been known for our basketball prowess historically, but with the amount of talent and the amount of hype coming in next year, you have to be a Final Four hopeful at least.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean, I feel like Nate Oates isn't worried about the Final Four. I think he wants to win a national championship. You know, he mentioned that at the mullet toss. You see him where he's around talking, and when coaches really feel like they have a chance and they start talking about winning, I think that is a good thing. But let me tell you the other good thing is that we're brought to you by Rowback. Look at you, man, sporting the Rowback right now. And let me put the promo code up there because we have our own promo code now, and it is room 20, 20% off your first order at rowback.com. I went to buy the crab and beer shirt. They didn't have it in extra large. So
you got to lose some more weight.
I'm going to have to, and that's what I'm doing, man. I'm trying, except I had Ruth Chris last night. And
you talked about it enough. Our viewers probably jumped on there and bought them all.
Yeah. It's a cool shirt. There's a ton of them though, man. I love the site, the different looks that they have at Rowback, and you know, and I like that white one that you got right there, man. It's pretty sweet.
Oh yeah. This is my favorite shirt. New favorite shirt. And
how do you keep it? How do you keep it? You know, without getting stuff on it.
Take it off when I get home.
She's wearing it at work. Just wear it at work, huh?
That's right. Yeah, if I wear it around my daughters, it's getting trashed. So, yeah.
Looking good, man. Rowback.com. And again, use our promo code room 20 to get 20% off your first order. And guys, use it, man. Let them know that we can do something here besides normally drink beer and talk sports. All right, let's talk about football. The weekend was supposed to have two cornerbacks visit, right?
Yeah.
Hamilton, who was a cornerback from Houston. Before he got to Tuscaloosa, though, he ended up committing to Ole Miss. They paid him to go there. So we get Jones, Deshaun Jones, cornerback from Wake Forest. I'll tell you what, man, I'm going to be honest with you right now. I'm very concerned about Alabama and our NIL. I feel like that was something that Nick Saban was never really he didn't like it. I don't blame him, you know, and I know some people that have gotten on me. Hey, you know, sounds like you don't like Nick Saban. No, I love Nick Saban. It is the best, but I don't. It's more than a guess, okay? I don't feel like he was really down with this whole NIL thing, and I don't think that, you know, raising money for players was something that he was really comfortable with. And I think that he thought, and all of this is common sense, right? That eventually there would be some kind of rules and stuff. Well, they don't have any of that. It's the Wild West right now. Teams that are also rans, you know, middle of the pack teams like Ole Miss can now go out and buy rosters, and we've got to compete in that marketplace. And it feels like to me with some of the top recruits, you know, we tried to get Greedy Vance, and he ended up going to, I think, USC. You know, we wanted to get Hamilton on campus. He never made it. He's going here, you know, like Khalil Jacobs, right? Or Khalil Jacobs. transfer out of South Alabama, goes down to Auburn before he comes to our visit, changes his visit that was supposed to be with us. And now, it looks like he's going to end up at Auburn. We'll see what happens. Are you concerned at all, before we get into Jones and talking cornerbacks, but that we're behind the game when it comes to this NIL situation?
I mean, I definitely – there's a difference, though, with Coach Saban and NIL. I mean, he didn't have to lean on NIL as much. And I'm not saying I think Coach DeBoer is going to do great. I think he's going to be a phenomenal coach at Alabama. I think it may take time to build up that NIL presence here in the state of Alabama. Again, I think Coach Saban was conflicted, and he also didn't have to raise as much money because his name sold players before the money did. So I don't think he had to be as dependent on NIL. He is Coach Saban. People are going to come play for him. And you're getting the exposure from Alabama and Coach Saban at the same time. So I think he could get guys at a lesser price. But also I think, it's obvious. I mean, he's stated this, that NIL was one of the reasons that he retired. It's something that he didn't believe in. And I don't think NIL was probably a priority for him because of the lack of belief in that system. Mm-hmm. I know that there's a lot of push right now through Alabama, trying to find ways to raise money and get these guys paid. People in this state, I know I've talked to a lot of guys, a lot of people, and fans as a whole. I think we all kind of had the same belief that, the big time players that create value deserve to get paid. But we're going to have to come to a realization that it's going to take money to get the best players in the country. And with the transfer portal, guys who have already proven themselves at other collegiate institutions are going to require money in order to land them as prospects. And so, this whole notion that, you don't believe in NIL, you don't think players should get paid, you're going to have to realize that contributions will have to be made in order to get these players. If you want to enjoy a good program, you're going to have to do this. So, the university is going to have to really market this thing and figure out a way to put a positive spin on it and get people to contribute.
Okay. Yeah. I think you're right, man. I mean, and, maybe it's going to take not only the coaches, which we saw with Coach DeBoer and Coach Oates, going around and doing stuff, maybe guys like you, like former players could figure out a way to do stuff and help raise money. I mean, I'm sure you'd be open to it, right? If they had like some kind of event or something.
Yeah, I mean, as long as I get some NIL money too, I'm good.
I don't blame you. The Jake Coker golf tournament.
That's right. No, we're kicking around the idea of having a golf tournament down here to raise money, for some NIL efforts. Again, it's going to take a lot of support. I know a lot of people in Mobile that would be willing to do it. Going to have to have some university backing as well, but it's definitely something that's being kicked around down here for former players to get involved and get some money to these guys on our team now and the guys that we need to get in the future. So there's definitely ideas being pushed around, and there will be an effort and a push down here pretty soon.
Yeah, look, if we're a little bit behind right now at Alabama, I don't think it's going to take much for us to catch back up again. We have the best fans in college football, and we've got, all of these guys like you that have won championships and that, people really like and support. And really like years of them. I mean, when you think about it, going back to even like the 92 team and, and the Bear Bryant guys are still here. So there's definitely ways to figure out how we can contribute somehow. But I feel like that's until they change the system and have rules, we're going to have to figure out a way to do our part, I feel like. And I mean, I'm including myself in on this too.
Yeah. I mean, I wish just the first rule put in place, I wouldn't mind if there was a rookie minimum or a rookie maximum, and that way the recruiting with NIL would be knocked down a notch. I mean, I know I've talked to coaches at several different schools, and to echo what Coach Saban said, a lot of them are saying that parents and players are asking what they're going to make their freshman year.
Right.
Again, I mean, how can any coach respond to that? Unless you're coaching at A&M or Texas or somewhere with deep pockets, I don't know how you answer that. I mean, if I was a coach, I mean, my first response, of course, you're recruiting a guy, but I'd be like, well, what the hell are you going to do to earn it? I mean, you're going to guarantee me 10 interceptions or 1,000 yards rushing? I mean, it's a hard question to answer, and that's the majority of what they get from what I hear. So, I don't know, man. It's a tough dynamic. It's a tough landscape. You're putting a lot of people in tough positions, and again, like you said, it just there's got to be more rules. There's got to be more standards that people can follow, and make this a cleaner transition for these players and coaches and everyone involved.
Yeah, no doubt, man. No doubt. All right, well, let's talk about the cornerback spot and Alabama bringing in Deshaun Jackson from Wake Forest, trying to improve, a cornerback spot that really doesn't have any experience. A lot of talent, though. I mean, you're talking about a lot of talent, 4- and 5-star guys, but they've never played before. And so I've thought that, going into this weekend, I thought Alabama might try to get both guys. Obviously, Ole Miss ended up with Hamilton, but they are adding someone there and trying to address what I feel like has got to be the biggest issue on this team.
Yeah, I mean, obviously they're going to have some help on the back end. We're strong up front and got to relieve some pressure on those guys. Can't allow the quarterback to have a lot of time to throw. I mean, that's the name of the game. That's what you got to have in football. You got to stop the run. You got to force quarterback to make quick decisions and decisions that they don't want to make. It's no secret we're a little thin back there, and it's just going to take time. So hopefully we can get through those first 4 games and allow those guys to develop and mature pretty quickly with a lot of help. But we looked through the depth chart last week, and there's a lot of new faces, a lot of guys that haven't played too much. I saw a lot of things out of Dre Kirkpatrick I liked, or I guess Dre Jr., that I really liked in that spring game. There's some other guys that I think have a lot of talent, but again, you just got to see how they respond when the lights are on Saturday night. So, a lot of balls in the air, a lot to just got to wait till the season starts to figure it out. But on paper, a lot of unproven individuals right now.
Is that the hardest position to figure out, or an easier position to figure out, the cornerback spot? How difficult is it going to be for someone that hasn't played college football to step up in that spot and be counted on?
Well, busted coverages, there's a lot of things. I mean, slow quarterback play, that obviously sticks out. I mean, an O-lineman giving up sacks, that sticks out. But busted coverages that lead to touchdowns are one of the things that that people pick on the quickest, and they allow the score to be run up pretty quickly. So, depends on how complicated this system is going to be on defense, especially the first few weeks of the season. I don't know if you can mix up a bunch of looks and bring a lot of exotic blitzes. I don't know. It's going to be hard to disguise a lot. A lot of guys, I've brought up Eddie Jackson so many times on this podcast, but you talk about a guy that understood what to do, how to disguise things, come off some of his responsibilities for the greater good of a defense on that play. It's hard to it's just hard to figure that out and understand, if a guy really and truly understands his responsibility and what the defense is trying to do until you get him out there on that field under the lights during a game. When things are moving quickly, you can't communicate real well. I hate to take too much from a spring game because it's still a practice. You got more people around, but there's not a whole lot on the line in terms of a loss. So, after week 3, it's kind of like we talked about during the season last year when we didn't have our quarterback yet. It just takes time, and you gotta see a guy fail a few times before you can really make that determination of whether he's going to work or not.
Right. Yeah. No doubt. No doubt. And it's one of those positions to me. I mean, not as a guy that played quarterback, but I worry about it a lot, and it was a strength last year, and it just feels like it's going to be, a weakness this year, but it could change.
That was Coach Saban's baby was the DBs. You had the greatest coach of all time coaching, and that's his main position group. So, we got a brand new coach, a brand new coaching staff. There's going to be a lot of changes, a lot of things that people aren't used to, and it's going to take a little time for everybody to adjust and get used to this new style of play. It's been 17 years. I think, we've gotten used to this standard, and I still think there's going to be a standard of excellence with Coach DeBoer, but again, he's got to have time to build his roster and have the personnel in there that he's chosen, for a couple of years before we can really make give him a real grade.
Hey guys, don't forget that we are brought to you by MyBookie, mybookie.ag. Use the promo code Next Round. Got my Next Round shirt on. And now that you got NBA, you got Major League Baseball going. And have you watched any of the NBA playoffs? I know you like basketball. You probably watched the finals, but have you gotten into it yet?
No, not really, to be honest with you. I tried to watch the other night, and I ended up flipping it on LSU, Texas A&M baseball. I'm just not quite there yet. I still feel like the intensity is not quite where I want it to be in the NBA. So once they start, body slamming people on the way up for a dunk, and it means a little more to them, I'll start tuning in a little bit more intently. But I miss, once you watch the highlights of the 80s and 90s, it's hard to it was like WWE back then. Those guys were, they were fighting. They were, and there weren't a whole lot of technicals back then. It was like, let's let them play. Let's let them fight it out. And I don't know, man. Of course, I guess that's the direction that a lot of sports are going. It's all kind of gotten a little softer, but I just miss the hardcore, the Michael Jordans, Larry Birds, all that. Shaq.
About Kobe. Did you see the video that Alabama football put out? Kobe talking to the team.
Oh yeah.
The Mamba mentality, like just kind of how he wanted to demoralize the guy he played against. I watched that this morning. It was on, I think on Twitter or something, Instagram. Yeah. And I was just like mesmerized by this guy and how focused he was to be successful. But let me say this about MyBookie for a second. Whether you bet to earn or to make games more interesting, MyBookie gives you the most for your money with their redesigned deposit bonus. Use the promo code Next Round. Just like I said before, you receive a cash bonus instantly to your MyBookie account. Using this bonus is simple. Bet your deposit amount just once, and you're ready to cash out. No strings attached with MyBookie. Bet on NBA, MLB. We'll talk about that in a second. Or play for a share of big cash prizes in the weekly online blackjack tournament. With so many brands to choose from, you need a platform that makes it simple to bet and win, like MyBookie. Bet anything, anytime, anywhere with MyBookie. Have you watched any baseball?
So hang on. Who did you take in the Kentucky Derby?
The two horses that Father Carl told us about came in second and third. Did you see that?
I was Sierra Leone.
Yeah, that was one of his horses.
Yeah, I know. I was really disappointed in Father Carl there at the end of that race.
Nobody knew Mystic Dan was going to spoil his Father Carl's horse bet.
I mean, Mystic Dan was in the lead the whole time. And then, I don't understand why all of a sudden Sierra Leone just blowing the doors off everybody at the end. It's like, why'd you wait so long?
Well, that's how these horses are, wanted to make it dramatic. How about the fact that it was really a photo finish? Literally, with the naked eye, I thought Mystic Dan won, but I wasn't sure. And then they slow it down, and they say by a nose, and that was like by a nose skin. It was so close. 150 years of horse racing.
I thought the finish line was the big column at the end, and it turns out the line is like right before that, because Sierra Leone, he passed the big column out in front, but I didn't realize the finish line was a yard before that.
Yeah,
1 yard, and he wins that race.
I know. And when you win that race, you're a made man or a made horse, right? That's 150 years, and it's the biggest of the horse races. Now you have two more big races coming up, part of the Triple Crown, but the Kentucky Derby is the one that's like the Daytona of horse racing. You're talking about the Run for the Roses, man. 150 years.
Oh yeah,
crazy, huh?
How many? And what they say they've done like in the last decade or so, 200 million in renovations of that place.
Yeah, it looked great. Because when I was there, probably 10 years ago, maybe it definitely had a very old feel to it. I liked it though. So if you're going to keep those type of events, you have to invest, right?
Yeah.
And that reminds me of what Major League Baseball is doing with Rickwood Field right now. A buddy of mine got tickets.
I thought this was a segue into Coleman Coliseum. I thought this was another Mick Gillispie Coleman Coliseum. Just
I'm not going to pick on Coleman today. I've never been impressed by that place though. Graduated from there though. I walked across the stage in there. Look, it's fine, but it's just not up to standard. See, you brought this on yourself. Man.
Yeah, I know.
But the fact that we can get all these recruits to Coleman Coliseum really gives you an idea of how good Nate Oates is.
You literally took the words out of my mouth. I was about to say the same thing. It's just incredible, and that's why I get back to the Greg Byrne kind of freaking out. Like maybe we've done too well with Nate Oates.
Yeah, really. But did you see?
Again, you have the spotlight on you. You got two choices: either you fail him or you bring it up to the standard that he's bringing to the University of Alabama. So we really have one choice here, and you would think there'll be a new Coleman Coliseum here pretty soon.
Yeah, well, I hope so, man. I hope so, because I never thought that Alabama basketball could be this good.
I never thought that there'd be this kind of hype around it. Final Four is I know this is our first time there, but now it's starting to seem, as long as Nate Oates is at the helm, that that's kind of a realistic goal moving forward. Out recruiting North Carolina with a $2 million deal on the table.
Yeah. What do you think?
Incredible.
What do you think Nate Oates' like deal is? I mean, in his mind, like where he could really go if he wouldn't have signed these extensions, he could have gone anywhere that had a job opening. Anybody would have hired him. I mean, they'd have paid him, some of these schools, anything he asked for. Not to say he's not well paid. I mean, he is one of the highest paid coaches, but he could have had more NIL. He could have had better facilities. And yet he has decided to stay in Tuscaloosa and coach at Alabama. I mean, what does that tell us about him and his goals?
I mean, I've talked to him like twice, and I've heard him say how much he loves Tuscaloosa, how much his kids love Tuscaloosa. That was one of my questions, the difference in Buffalo and Tuscaloosa. But, I've heard how much his kids love it down here, love kind of the small town feel. And I know he's a very, very family-oriented guy. So, making that kind of money where your family is happy, that's pretty hard to beat. And, I think our goal as Alabama should be, keep him happy and meet his demands. So whatever that takes. But I think also it's got to be a pretty good feeling to, when you come in, you have Coach Saban, as a partner within the athletic program. He's kind of taken over that lead role as the seasoned head coach there that's performed and produced a lot of winning teams and done things that we never thought was possible, similar to what Coach Saban did during his tenure at Alabama. So I think Alabama, in a way, look, he put himself on the map, but Alabama was a tool that he used that kind of built this platform for him for the rest of his life. He's got a coaching career wherever and whenever he wants to be, So I think he probably, it says a lot about him, has a deep appreciation for Tuscaloosa and the University of Alabama. And I think he wants to bring a national championship to Alabama before he makes another move. That's solely my opinion. I've never heard that anywhere else, but I think that would mean a lot to him to do that here in the state of Alabama.
Yeah, I mean, who would have ever thought that could possibly happen?
Where is his? I've never really heard this. Is there a school that he grew up pulling for that he dreams of coaching one day?
I don't know.
Maybe a Syracuse or somewhere that is kind of his hometown.
I thought it was somewhere. I figured Michigan State when.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't know. I should have asked him. I've never asked him. And when you're coaching another school, you never say that, hey, look, my dream job is to go, it'd be like, hey, like I'm doing this, but if that job ever opens, I'd go there. I don't think that people would really appreciate that too much, right?
If you ever have an opening, screw these guys, huh?
Yeah, right. The other thing, though, and I don't know if you're aware of this, but Rickwood Field in Birmingham is the oldest Major League Baseball stadium, like professional stadium, that has a game in it, right? It's older than Wrigley and older than Fenway, which is incredible. And this year on June 20th, we're going to honor Willie Mays. His 93rd birthday was this week. He's from Fairfield, Alabama, maybe the greatest player of all time. And the Giants and the Cardinals are going to play a regular game. It's the first time ever that a regular season Major League Baseball game will be played in the state of Alabama. The ticket allocations have been really hard to get, and it's because there's just not that many seats. It may be the toughest ticket in the history of Alabama sports in our state. Really? Yeah, I'm seeing there's like $6,000 for a ticket. I don't know if that seems awful high to me, but still.
Why didn't they get the Braves to play there?
That would have been, I know, that would have been awesome. Can you imagine that?
Oh my gosh. the only Braves are the major league team in Alabama.
Well, they got the Giants because Willie Mays was a Giant. And maybe it was just that's who the Giants were playing. But I think this is good for the game of baseball to have it's, to do this, to go to Mexico and play games and to go to Europe and play games and to have a game in Birmingham. I think that's a good thing.
Oh, yeah. I mean, baseball, I think, is a sport that's, when I was growing up, baseball was very popular. I don't know how popular it is amongst young people now. Kids seem to be getting into faster paced sports. I love baseball, have always loved baseball. But it does seem to be a sport that's kind of losing its popularity amongst young people. And I'd say I was watching, I was on YouTube the other day, and you look at some of the greatest sports moments among all sports across the board. And baseball, in those intense moments, they may be the greatest sports moments. They may have the greatest amount of best sports moments in all of the country when you include football, basketball, anything. Those ninth inning home runs, the late game defensive plays, play at the plate. Those scenarios are hard to beat in terms of a sports moment or anything that a defining moment within a game.
Mm-hmm.
More than a touchdown pass or a buzzer beater three might be, close to that, but a walk-off home run or a play at the plate in the ninth inning, man, that's a tough clutch moment to beat.
I love the game. I love it. It's my favorite game, and it's like, and I think it's because there's just, it's so hard to duplicate the game. It's like you never see one that's like the other one. Like there's always something happening that you've never seen before in baseball. Yeah. And people could see, like I've probably watched 3,000 games and I still see stuff that I'm like, man, I can't believe that just happened. Like and what I like about baseball is that you really have to think to play the game well. My dad used to say, 90% of it's upstairs. Now, I don't believe that because I know the game and I still wasn't even close to being good enough. So I'm saying that a big part of it actually has to be you're athletic, but but to really succeed at the game of baseball, I think you do have to be smart.
Oh, I agree. There's so many statistics involved that, I think you can be a good player and not, as long as you're, physically talented, more talented than most. But, you don't see pitchers like Greg Maddux. And look, he had a ton of movement on his ball, but without his baseball IQ or just mental capacity for baseball, I don't think you see a guy like that dominate the way he did. It's kind of it's like quarterbacks that don't have great arms, that aren't the biggest or the strongest or the fastest. They read things real well. They anticipate very well. It's kind of like a pitcher, just understanding who they're pitching, batter the same way, understand who they're facing. There's so much detailed study involved that, without being pretty intelligent, you're going to struggle at that level, at the top level of baseball.
Who's your favorite player all time?
Oh, my favorite player growing up was Rafael Furcal.
Really?
Yep. Because he was I played shortstop growing up, and he was, the starting shortstop for the Braves, and I watched the Braves religiously. So him and Chipper Jones, I like Ryan Klesko too back in the day.
You like the role guys. You didn't like the starters. You like the role guys.
I watched a ton of baseball, so it wasn't like the trendy player you just pick and pick up because that's who everybody liked.
I respect that, though, man. That's what baseball's all about.
I loved Julio Franco, too. Big Julio Franco fan.
That bat up over your head like this?
Oh, yeah. And just an old stud of a guy playing, I mean, just tough. Javi Lopez. I don't know. I was a huge fan of most Braves players, though. I mean, especially the ones that, you know, seem to play hard for the team. And that was for Javi Lopez, to me, was, I mean, he was a great Brave. Andrew Jones, I used to love the trick catches and all that. But,
do you remember those Braves teams when you hear that song 98 Braves by Morgan Wallen?
I mean,
have you heard that song? Have you heard that song?
Oh yeah. I mean, you know, I wish he should have mentioned my boy Furcal, but it's kind of hard to make words rhyme with Rafael Furcal.
Yeah. It's funny. Last week was the anniversary of Mrs. Robinson, you know, debuting, I think, on the Billboard chart, or maybe it was when it was released. But nonetheless, that song was written, and this line in the song is, "Where have you gone, Joe DiMaggio?" Well, honestly, the guy that wrote it, Paul Simon, wasn't really even a DiMaggio fan. I mean, he loves the Yankees, but he was a Mickey Mantle fan. The Mick, right? Great name. And maybe the best name in baseball history. And so he was like, the reason why it wasn't, you know, "Where have you gone, Mickey Mantle," is because it didn't have enough syllables, right? So, you know, but you know the song I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, I guess when you're writing, you know, a lot of that just depends on the syllables and how it rhymes. And so he famously, you know, just to kind of wrap this up as we kind of slow down on the podcast here, he ended up seeing DiMaggio at a restaurant, and DiMaggio's like, "Hey," like waves him over. He's like, where have I gone? I'm right here, you know, because he didn't understand what that lyric meant. And then Paul Simon's like, "No, it meant like, where have the heroes gone?"
Yeah.
And when I hear it, I've always thought that, like, that's what he was saying. You know, where have the heroes in baseball? Where have the heroes gone? Like DiMaggio, you know, or the Mick.
Yeah. It's pretty cool to know the meanings behind those. Morgan Wallen got pretty lucky with Andrew and Chipper, though.
Well, I think we've done it all. We're next show, you and I together, same room. So show you.
Try to get Ryan in on the next one.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it Thursday. See if he's available.
And it's about to be summertime, so Shank will have some time to get out and come join us too.
I can't wait to see Shank. Well, yeah. So you just tell me, and we'll tell you guys. But I can say this: we appreciate all of you guys for hanging out with us, and don't forget to use our promo code so that you can look as slick and good as Mr. Jake Coker there. Room 20. That is our personal code for Roback. Roback.com. He's looking great with his white shirt on. I'm going to wear mine next time. And I'm telling you guys, the quality of these shirts really is great. They're fantastic quality. They look nice. They've got some really cool shirt designs. If you want crabs and football, just make sure you're not extra large. And they got you covered. The Chicago shirt, it may be the one I buy. I'm going to use our code just so that I'll see if it works. You know, just to test it. I just want to test our code one time. Have you worn the Alabama shirt you got, the Roback Alabama shirt?
I hadn't yet. I have not yet. I am going to wear it, but I got to wear that to like a Alabama sporting event. I feel like just wearing that around is just a little too much.
Right.
You know, but no, next year when I go to a game, I'll be wearing that shirt.
Right. Well, that'll be great. And then again, guys, don't forget that we're brought to you by MyBookie, and we really appreciate those guys. So whether you bet to earn or make games more interesting, MyBookie gives you the most for your money with their redesigned deposit bonus. Just use the promo code next round, just like the shirt here, to receive a cash bonus instantly to your MyBookie account. Using this bonus is simple. Bet your deposit amount just once, and when you're ready to cash out, it's no strings attached with MyBookie. Bet on NBA, MLB, or for a share of big cash prizes in our weekly blackjack tournaments. With so many brands to choose from, you need a platform that makes it simple to bet and win. MyBookie. Bet anything, anytime, anywhere with MyBookie. Well, it's fun, man. Great show. Thank you guys for hanging out with us. And again, we'll talk to you soon. Who knows what the world's going to look like by Thursday as far as anything anymore. But we'll be there for you on Thursday. So until then, roll tide, everybody.